Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. I'm looking forward to talking with Kurt Uhlir. Kurt, it's great to talk to you. Your company is Showcase IDX. Your website is kurtuhlir.com, UHLIR.com. Kurt, the Think community knows I'm a business coach. I work with successful people who are stuck. I get them unstuck. And what I love about my podcast is I bring on guests like you who can also offer that same through line of something that somebody can pull off a shelf and get unstuck and grow their business, their mindset, or even their personal lives. And so you are, a lot of your life revolves around marketing. You're a globally recognized marketer, operator, and speaker. You've built and run businesses from startup to over 500 million in annual revenue. You've been on the front lines of creating several of the marketing channels that many of us use today, including social media management, influence marketing, location-based marketing. I mean, you're just a talented guy when it comes to the art of marketing. And so as we dive in, what I really want to talk to you about is, as we sit here, this is a live web show that gets turned into my podcast, but as we sit here on August 1st, 2022, what is the art and science of marketing today?
I think that the art really just comes down to, no matter what industry somebody is in, what business they're in, a solo entrepreneur running a company it's thinking about, we're in the influence economy. So that's your personal brand, your company's brand, and how do you impact that the most? And so I love things like TikTok and Facebook and email. There's all these things that people are excited about at any moment. But it all comes down to when the algorithm changes, to the people in your sphere of influence know how to get in touch with you. I could go to your website, John, and I know exactly how to get in touch with you, even if Facebook or TikTok or anything changes it. And too many people complicate it, thinking they have to chase the latest and greatest while not realizing they don't own their hub themselves.
Correct. I look at my business as a media company, and those outlets you're talking about are ways that I can get to. But what I really do my best to control what I can control. And the two things I can control are my website that I have control over and my email list.
Yep.
I want to go back to what you were talking about when in this economy, it's really important about your brand. I love talking about branding and marketing kind of in the same sentence because they're so interchangeable. Talk a little bit about, what to do to grow your brand, right? Because it's not easy. Nothing goes viral, and growing brand, in my opinion, is the long game. So talk a little bit about how you grow your brand and the marketing to fuel it.
It's the long game for huge growth, but it literally just it starts whether you're an electrician with one truck or 20 trucks with the influence you have. You have customers that know your brand because they call you, or you're a big international, real estate company. It's yes, it's a long game before you can become Gary Vaynerchuk. Hell, you'd love to have that audience. I'd love to have that audience. But it starts with being authentic with the audience you have, sharing what you have today. Hey, you have a lot of listeners and viewers. I do as well and things, but I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm not Grant Cardone. So if I try to be that person, it's not going to come across as authentic. Or for the electrician that's trying to be some big HGTV star, as opposed to just be who you are, whether you talk fast or slow, and share the story of where you're at. And there's tons of those stories. I have a mortgage broker here in Atlanta, technically Roswell, Georgia. He kind of owns this area, this suburb. He's one person. Now he's got a pretty big influence. But I've referred him, I don't know how many times, because he literally just pops up on Facebook Live and tells 10 and 15-minute stories from a client he just met with.
Yeah.
And he tells it in a way that's interesting to me, even though I'm not actively buying and selling. And okay, so his name's Alan. Alan has an audience and influence now, but it's way larger than it was 6 years ago. But he's been putting in the long game for this. But even 6 years ago, he was getting an additional referral out of me because he popped up in my feed and gave just a little story and got a referral from me that he otherwise wouldn't have gotten.
Yeah, I love it. I want to talk about that because, there's sharing the stories. I think people learn really well through stories. And I think people are very hesitant to share their story, right? You said be yourself and share your story. Sometimes that's very difficult for people. If somebody goes to my website, when I launched my business, I thought I'm going to be pretty vulnerable in my bio and give a pretty long bio so people can really get to know me and understand my story where I don't necessarily had it in the past. But
Right.
talk about the importance of, really what the word authenticity means, of sharing your story and kind of being vulnerable about yourself.
Yeah, I kind of view authenticity, transparency, whatever word somebody wants to put on it, of if what comes out of my mouth, if so I've got a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old.
Yeah.
If in 10 years they got to see every word, every action, my wife, the same thing, everything that I say, would they look back in 10 years, in 20 years and go, was Kurt lied or Kurt told the truth in those things? And so that's a level of authenticity that I aim for. That if somebody that, the people that are closest to me, am I sharing things that, like, hey, we all embellish a little bit, but also on the downtimes, like someone's sharing, being authentic is it a good day or a bad day? I mean, I love the business coaches and people that pop up and go, God, today the first half of the day sucked, but I grinded through it anyways, and it's 1:00 and I've knocked out these 2 or 3 things, but it sucked. Like I literally had a coaching call with somebody this morning that their call was, they don't know if they can trust anybody in their company except for one leader, and I'm devastated. And it kind of came down to just one little post, and I'm like, the fact that he was willing to share his vulnerability allowed me to coach into him. But man, that would have been such a valuable, like, Instagram reel or something for somebody to share that today was horrible and I'm trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah. I love it. Let's talk about some of the biggest mistakes people make in marketing. Because I think, it's one of those things that when the pandemic really hit in, mid-March of 2020, a lot of the companies I work with, solopreneurs to Fortune companies, C-level execs, leadership, managers, and salespeople. And the leaders of company or the owners of companies, many, when the pandemic hit, were cutting their marketing budget. My suggestion was to double or triple the marketing budget, because that's when you really need to be in front of people. And so marketing to me is so critical, but I think it's sometimes something that people don't think about, how important the nuances are, or a word is, or creating that space to really think differently to get to simplicity. So can you just kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, kind of what you're saying. They're not intentional about it. Like,
Correct.
Hey, when the market slows down, should you reevaluate everything in your marketing? Absolutely. Like I might pull back on pay-per-click ads. I'm not going to cut them completely, but I'm going to pull it way back. But I'm going to reevaluate what's working and what's not. That's the intentional time to do it. But it's the same thing about your marketing going forward. I mean, I work a lot in real estate now. I can't tell you how many thousands of agents I've spoken in front of where I hear the same story. I tried social media, it doesn't work. Well, if you dig into it, what tried was all they were posting was new listing, here's a closing, I'm at an open house.
Right.
Well, if you just look at the math, maybe 5% of their sphere of influence is actively buying or selling at any one time.
Yeah.
95% of the time that I follow you, if you're an agent online, I don't care about an open house right now. And so they're sharing content, and it was the same junk all the time when they didn't realize they should have a different mix. And so it's not that social didn't work, it's what they shared that didn't work. So they weren't intentional thinking up front. They were trying to just check the box and go, well, I tried Facebook and it didn't work.
Correct.
Well, maybe you tried it, you didn't try it correctly. And so whether it's marketing or other parts of the business, I think everybody, especially in marketing, needs to realize you're wrong about at least 2 to 3 things in your business right now, and you don't know it. And the reason I know that is because I know I'm wrong about at least 3 things in my life right now. It's literally written on my wall. I do look at it every morning, and I know that because historically I always go back and something come up, and I thought I was right about it for the last 6 months to maybe the last $2 to $3 million.
Yeah.
And so, and you don't know you're wrong until you're Wile E. Coyote and you're out over the cliff, and you go, crap, I've been writing checks to this startup that's not going to go anywhere, and I've been wrong.
Yeah.
And you realize it today. And so your marketing is the same way. It's people aren't intentional in going, where should I be spending money? And to your point, also, when things slow down, you should invest. That's when you take market share.
That's when you take market share. Yeah. Amen to that. All right. Quick speed round for you. Book that's had the biggest impact for you.
Atomic Habits. And Atomic Habits and Profit First. It's a small book. Every solo entrepreneur needs to read Profit First.
Yeah, I both great books, and Atomic Habits is by James Clear, is such an incredible read. If you want to really build your habits, it's a great book. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
Kurt, you're an a-hole. got it from my mom and a mentor, and 30 years later than I should have got the room.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Sometimes I'll be brought in, but from a company, and an owner will say, I don't understand why, everything is wrong. So I'll go and interview a lot of people, majority of people. And then sometimes I have to come back and say, hey, you're an a-hole. And
I was oblivious to it. Yep.
Yeah,
Until somebody out on the outside could point back, and I didn't know how I was showing up to people.
Right.
And most of the time it wasn't how I wanted to show up. I mean, sometimes I might have wanted that way, but most of the time it wasn't. And it did take somebody else, in that case, being brave enough. But I mean, really, you should give that permission to somebody to give you that feedback.
Yeah. I love it. Finish this sentence. Last question. One thing that everybody needs to do consistently every day when it comes to marketing is
write content, whether it's 10 words or 10,000 words.
Yeah. I love it. Tell everybody who your ideal client is and how to connect with you.
My ideal client is right now it's real estate agents and the people that do marketing for them. So they're usually doing, somewhere between $80,000 and $500,000 of gross commission income a year. That's who I come in and help right now.
Love it. Think community. We talk a lot about thinking big and defining that as doing the small things every day that compound and get to the big. And marketing is one of those things that you need to do in small pieces, like you're talking about, even if it's 10 words a day consistently, because it compounds into something big. We talk about, again, many of I work with successful people who are stuck and get them unstuck. The thing that I'm hoping people take from this, and you had a lot of great nuggets, Kurt, and I appreciate it. But one of the most important things I think that can get people unstuck is really to move with intent, which is something that you talked about, and taking time and taking a pause and taking space to create that intent, I think is really, really important. So I appreciate you sharing that. Think community, if Kurt can help you, please reach out to him. Kurt, Kurt, uhlir.com. Kurt, I appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Kurt, Think community, thanks so much. Have an awesome day, everybody.